Welcome to Small Insight Big Impact. Just imagine you and another person interviewed for the same position and you were offered a role. And now you are expected to lead that very person that competed with you. You have to remember this is not a test of authority, but this is a test of leadership maturity. Today, we will explore how leaders navigate one of the delicate transitions leading a peer who wanted the same seat you now occupy. I have been privileged to experience a similar situation in different organizations where so I'm going to share with you my insight and I hope that you find it useful. But before that, this particular situation it's very important because there are no written policies or statements, that are there to guide you, but just that people are watching every step that you take, every move that you make, how you speak, how you make decisions, and how you treat one person and the other. So it's sort of how your small behaviors create, lasting impact, be it positive or negative. So I'm going to share with you 4 insights that I have learned, and I hope you find them useful. The first is try and close the competition conversation and open discussions that are more collaborative. It's very important for you not to always remind the person, why you were chosen or why he was not chosen. Those are statements that you should not even encourage at all. You need to be able to uh, give a respectful acknowledgement uh, of the situation. For example, you could say something like, if there's a need for you to talk about it, we both put ourselves forward, and I respect your capabilities, and you want us to lead together. So what you need to do with this one, you're trying to tell the person that you respect his capabilities and expertise, and you are inviting him to go on the leadership journey with you, because with him on your side, both of you will succeed, or the team will succeed. So that's very important for you uh, to to do, so that that person feels like, oh yes, my role, my capabilities, my expertise are sort of at par with him or her. So, and now I have a voice, and we can work together. More or less, or she considers me as is confident in all decision making. So that's very, very important for you to be able to do. uh, Make sure you close the competition conversation and open a collaborative one. So that's first thing I would suggest. And take steps to work towards developing a relationship that leads to outcome. So that should be the focus of both of you, or that no, we are in this together, and we need to work together to achieve the outcome for ourselves and also for our team and then the organization. So that's one thing. That's the first thing you need to be able to do to be able to get on with that particular person. The next insight is also for you to lead with standards and not sentiments. There's a tendency for us to be, in such a situation, to lead with sentiments because we know that that person competed with us, and then but make sure your decisions, your leadership is advised by standards, and then fairness. It's the currency that you use in your leadership style. Avoid trying to create situations where you have two extreme views on issues. And so that's one thing you need to try and find a middle ground for both of you when there are issues that you have to discuss and you have different positions. Also, be very intentional about how to manage tension or avoid tension between the two of you. So that is something that you need to be able to work on and be aware of what will trigger a tension situation between both of you and not encourage that. It's also very important to take steps to make sure that nobody comes out or comes across as dominant in the decisions or conversations that you have with that person, so that it's like you work together on issues, but there is not that perception that, oh, he or she dominates my position or my view. Clear expectation is one thing that you have to make sure that you don't compromise on. And it's also very important for you to be transparent in your decision making. That's something, because remember, if you are not transparent, then suspicions, perception will then fuel the team, and that will be what will be said or used to judge your leadership skills. So make sure you are transparent in your decision making. You also have to be consistent in terms of how you apply the principle of accountability. Everybody should be treated equally, and avoid treating others differently or promoting favoritism in the team. There's also the issue of predictability and respect. You need to work towards establishing those two principles within the team, so that people get to know that their views are respected and actions based on clear goals and objectives. There's also an idea of how predictable situations are. So those are things that you need to look at when you are trying to lead with fairness or standards, and not just by sentiments. Because if you go with sentiments, I bet you wouldn't have a good working relationship with that person. The third insight is also to try and create psychological safety for that person and also for the team. Because one of the biggest mistakes that we make is thinking that authority replaces dialogue. You need to make time to talk, to discuss issues. There will always be a common ground for you to all work on. So try and look for those common grounds that will bring your dialogues together and be able to gel on issues that will drive the team forward. And where you disagree, that's fine. Disagreement is also fine, but then it has to be constructive in a way that will be productive at the end of it. So if you do that, that person will feel somehow safe to come to you or discuss issues with you, knowing very well how you will deal with those issues. So in situations where you have disagreements, you could sort of, be very polite and respectful and say something like, I welcome your professional disagreement when it improves results. That's just an example. Make sure that person feels respected, his views are heard, and also, you don't just say it, because that's one thing that we leaders sometimes forget, that you can say something but people can read through what you say. So just be mindful that you to convey it from your heart with regards to what you say. In other words, be authentic in your approach to dealing with such a person. The fourth insight that I'll share with let your results write your story. With this person, you need to make sure that everything is based on clear goals, objectives. So let results be the driving mic for you. So with that, there will always be tangible outcomes for you to speak to or refer to should you have some disagreement or there should be an issue that requires maybe a rethink of either a strategic approach or team dynamics or whatever it is. A link to that is documentation of every conversation or everything that you do in the team, not because of him, but to be able to document how progress are going, how the whole team is working towards achieving the goals. And remember, if you don't get things right or clear from that person, take time to paraphrase some of the statements or issue discussions that you have, so that at least both of you are on the same page. You understand each other. You know what is required and what has to be done. There are clear benchmarks in terms of who does what, when execution has to be done, and how it should be done. So that's those are the four insights that I will share with you. There are a couple of things that I would like to draw your attention to that you have to work towards avoiding. One is don't let ego drive your leadership with such people. That will sort of create a whole situation, and in most cases, that is a trap that you wouldn't notice. But then make sure you're humble and ego is out of your leadership vocabulary with such people. You also have to avoid reasserting authority verbally when you are dealing with these type of people, because they would take it very offensive, and then that could lead to other things or conflicts within the team, even with him as well. So the third thing that you also have to avoid is, trying to avoid difficult conversations. As a leader, you need to know when to have some conversations. If the time is not right, if the place is not right, please don't engage in those conversations. Look out for the best time. Then you try and have those discussions. Remember, they say time heals, eh? So sometimes timing is very important in these conversations. So be very mindful and intentional about those conversations. Avoid having difficult conversations if you don't need to. The next thing that you also have to try and do it. You should avoid to pretend that everything is okay or nothing has really happened. Don't try to hide the whole situation of that person competing with you under the carpet. That is risky and that is not healthy. You have to acknowledge it, but then make sure you are very intentional and respectful with regards to how you deal with that person. And if you do that, you'll be able to build trust with that person over time, and that will sort of translate into team goals and team results and outcomes. Remember, being selected over someone is not a proof of superiority. It's just a proof of being given a responsibility or role that you have to perform. So your leadership actually begins when you start that new role. And remember that trust, performance, and culture are shaped by how you lead or handle situations with this person. If you have led or are preparing to lead in a similar situation where you've competed with someone, share your experience in the comments. Subscribe to Small Insight, Big Impact for leadership lessons grounded on real life situations. Because leadership is not just a title, it's the way you engage with people each and every day. Until next time, take care and see you in the next episode.